Yeah, we wanted to make an important public safety announcement today that I think highlights our fire departments and our EMS's ability to change with the times and think outside the proverbial box, all to the benefit of our city's residents. We were, as a city, one of the first in, not just in Massachusetts, but in the country to arm all of our first responders with Narcan. That was a few years ago, and it's paid off greatly as we've attempted to respond comprehensively to the opioid crisis that afflicts our city and virtually every city in America these days. And it's resulted in the savings of many lives. But we also know that there are other things that we have to respond to, and very quickly, and that getting medical service to folks at a moment's notice is sometimes difficult. But there are tools out there to deal with different types of crises in the same way that we use Narcan. There are other things that we want our first responders to have at their immediate disposal, and that's what we're talking about here today. We've heard in the news in the last few years the challenge of procuring EpiPens, epinephrine pens, which deal with anaphylactic shock. Did I pronounce that right, Scott?
Correct. Yes.
Once you get into these, multi-syllable medical terms, I phone a friend. So that's why Scott can help me out on all this stuff, as you have at other press conferences. There's been an issue with the cost of EpiPens. There was an article that was out about a year ago or so that reported that EpiPens had spiked at about $600 a dose, which was a huge controversy because EpiPens save lives. So if people have allergic reactions to things like bee stings and exposure to latex and other or react to other allergies, it can be life-threatening. Folks can lose their ability to breathe very quickly if their airways are swollen up, and lose their ability to communicate. First responders are showing up and on a scene and are trying to figure out what to do. Sometimes if someone's non-communicative, it can be very difficult, and sometimes just a matter of minutes that they have to sort of figure it out and and to act. So in that way, we've done that. We've seen in the last few years, in the last several months, a drop in EpiPen costs, which created an opportunity for us. There are new generics on the market that have driven that cost down to a point that's very affordable. And thanks to the hard work of our fire department through the leadership of Chief Gomes and Deputy Chief Paul Cordair, and yet another example of District Chief Scott Kruger's out-of-the-box thinking. We are announcing today that the city will be arming all of its first responders, our fire and EMS departments, with EpiPens. And this will help us save lives. The impetus for this was an incident, and the chief will go into this in a little more detail, in which they showed up at an event at a scene in which an individual had a bee sting. The bee sting itself caused that person to go into anaphylactic shock that resulted in the tightening of his airways, and that person was almost lost. And so again, this resulted in an effort to deal with that problem. And so as a result, we are of this out of the box thinking. We're able at very low cost to put our first responders in positions to help people. And so I'm just grateful for the work of the department in making that happen. We pride ourselves here in New Bedford and city government in being able not just to sort of do the same things over and over again, right, and do them well, but just to do them over again. We have to evolve with the times. And in the changing financial environment in the city, the changing types of technology available to us, the changing needs of our residents, and the different challenges of our time, whether it's opioids or anything else, we need to adapt. And this is a great example of how our folks have adapted to a challenge and have met it head on, and it will result ultimately in more lives being saved. So I can't thank you guys enough for the work. I want to thank and recognize Linda Morad, our City Council President, for her support of our department. I know that she and the rest of the City Council see it the same way that I do, that we have to be nimble as a city government in every respect, but primarily in the area of public safety, because that is the first business of government. I also want to recognize the Firefighter Union President, Tom Carrero, for his support as well. This is an initiative that has everybody's support for obvious reasons. We were able to make this happen at low cost and with high impact. So with all that, let me just introduce Chief Mike Gomes to say a few more words, that a little bit of detail to this story and how it's going to help our residents. Chief.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As was discussed, when somebody goes into anaphylactic shock, it is a life-threatening situation, and we recently were faced with such a situation where the fire department personnel responded. They were on the scene first and attempted to give aid to an individual who was in a truly life-threatening situation. Unfortunately, they didn't have any tools in their toolbox that could deal with that situation. Luckily, a medic supervisor in the city was able to respond quickly enough in order to save the day under those circumstances. I am blessed in that I have a staff of 220 truly diverse individuals that bring lots of skill sets to the fire department. And they often come to me and say, gee, we should do this. And so then we go out and we find a way. And through the efforts of District Chief Scott Kruger and the efforts of the St. Luke's Hospital, they were able to come up with a way which makes it affordable for us to be able to provide this skill set out in the field. This is a new skill set for first responders in Massachusetts. It's only been allowed the administration of these controlled drug doses since about 2014. And so this is an additional toolbox that we're adding to our toolbox. And we're continuously adding to it because our mission, as the mayor said, continually changes. The threats that we deal with continually change. So this has allowed us to be able to do it affordably. And again, it's a skill set that we've already trained all our people. The doses are out in the field, and it's a capability that's already out there. So we feel we're extremely fortunate being able to do that. And again, we're fortunate that we have members of the department who are paramedics and who are EMTs, that by having those force multipliers in the department, we're able to rapidly bring this stuff on, train our people, and get it out in the field where it can do the most good. And so I'm giant supporter of that diverse workforce. All the skill sets they give make us a much better organization.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I think this is a good example of the chief's approach during his time in his position to adapt and to seek out good ideas from the rank and file, and it's happened. This is just one of countless examples of where the fire department's has improved its craft as a result of that approach. So, Chief, thanks for moving the needle once again. I'd like to call up City Council President Linda Morad to offer a few remarks. Under her leadership, the City Council has been fully supportive of efforts like this and has encouraged them, and it's great to see the City Council support yet again in this instance. Linda.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning. On behalf of the New Bedford City Council and our chairman of our Public Safety Committee, Councilor Brian Gomes, we want to congratulate the New Bedford Fire Department, the leadership, and the men and women of the New Bedford Fire Department on just one more time setting an example of making sure that they are serving the citizens of the city of New Bedford in the best way possible. This department has, over the past many years, had to change the way it does its job, doesn't just run into buildings now to put out a fire or to rescue people, but there's so many other public safety issues that the fire department deals with, and the men and women of the department have adapted, and the leadership of the New Bedford Fire Department has recognized that changes need to be made and has given the tools and the resources to do that. So we want to thank you all for what you do every single day, most of it without any fanfare, but it's nice when we have this type of opportunity to acknowledge what the men and women of our public safety department, specifically our New Bedford Fire Department, are doing. So thank you on behalf of the citizens of the city of New Bedford, and I look forward to continuing working with you on whatever the next step is to make our city safer.
All right, thank you, Linda. Next up, I want to call District Chief Scott Kruger to come up to offer a little more detail on some of the technical aspects of this. But I just, this is the second time in recent memory where Scott personally has advanced a new initiative that increases the capacity of the fire department and of all of our first responders to deal with a discrete, life-threatening type of crisis. We were a few months back dealing with a matter having to do with carbon monoxide, again with medical terms that I can't pronounce that he can offer up on my behalf. But what he's done is on his own, and this is the kind of initiative that we certainly wish to cultivate in city government. He recognized the threat. He came up with a plan and an idea, a plan, brought it to the chief. It's being implemented, and it's going to help people. So, Scott, well done once again. Come on up and tell us in more authoritative language what exactly is going on here.
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much. This is something we've accomplished a lot in the past few years, and it's great. But this is one thing that I'm very proud of to be a part of. Not just me, but the entire New Bedford Fire Department, especially the men and women of this department who are going to be out there every day, providing this skill to people that are in need, and they deserve all the credit. They've attended the training, and they've learned the skill, and now they can go out and help save people of the city. But there's one thing about this fire service and the New Bedford Fire Department specifically. If your house catches on fire, we come with an engine company and we put water on it and we put it out. If you're trapped in a car, a ladder truck comes and we use the jaws of life when we cut you out of the car. If you have a heart attack or a cardiac arrest, we arrive on scene, we do CPR, we put a defibrillator on you, and we save you. If there's an opiate overdose, we arrive on scene, we provide ventilation, and we administer Narcan, and we save that person. Excuse me. But however, as was the case a month ago, or roughly a month ago, an engine company responded to the scene for someone having an allergic reaction. When they arrived on scene, this male was in severe anaphylactic shock and was probably going to expire in a few minutes. And unfortunately, there was nothing that they could really do for that male except for supportive care. So this is why we're here today, because of that call. They did everything that they could to help this person, but Mike Thomas, an EMS supervisor, arrived on scene, administered epinephrine, and saved this gentleman. He had a full recovery, and now he has a prescribed EpiPen. So after that incident, we took a hard look at what we could do so this did not happen to another citizen of the city, and also so we wouldn't put our men and women in a position to have that feeling that, hey, there's nothing that we can do for this person, because it is an awful feeling. So it's great that we were able to, and there's a lot of things behind the scenes that kind of helped out with support from Chief Gomes, Deputy Kadir, but also, Director of EMS Mark McGraw, always supportive, but also Dr. Matthew Bivens and his administrative assistant, Brian Giorgiani. They did a lot of work behind the scenes to help us obtain the EpiPens at a really affordable price, because as much as we had wanted to do this in the past, their expense made actually doing this untenable. That's why there's not a whole lot of fire departments in the Commonwealth that are able to equip a large amount of fire apparatus with them. So we're fortunate that because of all these people that worked on this, I'm up here, speaking right now, but all these other people had a hand in it, and so it's great And also, like I said, we respond to about 11,000 medical calls a year on average, and it's the men and women in this department that are going to go out there and are going to be able to save people's lives with this new skill. So thank you very much. If you guys have any questions about anything. Right now, as we speak, all of our engines, ladder trucks, command vehicles, even the firefighters that work on details at festivals, they'll all have right now the adult EpiPens are out there. Apparently, there's a nationwide back order on pediatric EpiPens, and what I learned is that this is the worst time of year to try and get pediatric EpiPens because the start of the school year pretty much takes away all the supply of them for prescriptions in schools. So we're looking. We have like about a 2-week wait to get our full complement of the pediatric ones. So but we're online now with the adult ones. All depends. It's there's roughly an 18-month. They have an 18-month lifespan, and so then that time they would have to be, just like any medication. Any medication has a lifespan to it, as you know. Narcan does as well. So roughly after about, and that's a ballpark. It all depends on when it's manufactured and when they hand it over to you and you have it. That's how long you look at the date, and that's but roughly they're about 18 months. And like I said, to the other, at the other price was up to upwards of $600. That's an untenable expense that, but fortunately, like I said, because of the advent of the generic ones and with the help of, St. Luke's, our medical director, we were able to, get it at a very affordable price.
We got a deal.
This facilitated by St. Luke's, though?
Well, I can't,
Part.
in part, yes, I can't, walk into someplace and ask them for, 36 EpiPens. I need Dr. Bivens, who's the medical director for us in New Bedford EMS. We have a really good relationship with him. And when we approached him he was like, absolutely. He gave us the blessing because you have to ask permission from your medical. You can't just start giving a medication without permission. So, and they actually work behind the scenes to try and find the cheapest price. I mean, they did a lot of work on that. They were very supportive of this.
It wasn't a black market transaction. but no, having the partnership with the medical provider allowed us to access to these pens in ways that weren't otherwise available. You might ask that why aren't other places aren't doing the same thing? I don't know. But our approach is like we're not going to wait for other people to figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll do it and let everybody else follow.
When they expire, they'll continue this with you guys?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll just be continuous. We already. Yep. So no apparatus will go once they're on there. They will not go without. They will not go on out. That feel of them going to a call and not being able to help somebody with this, that will not happen again. That's why
St.
we're
Luke's
here.
helped out a lot. South Coast Health and our EMS guys, Mark McGraw, who couldn't be here today, played a big role in it. And it's another example of the kind of collaboration that is necessary when you have constrained resources and other challenges. These guys talk a lot, the fire department, EMS, and the emergency room over at St. Luke's, and they figure stuff out. Just a real good example of a group of stakeholders who are doing things all in concert with one another, and it's great teamwork.
It's very easy to say no. How do we get to yes?
Yeah.
And in this collaborative approach, we all work together in order to get to yes, and that's the key. This makes sense to do. It's in the best interest of the people that we protect and serve. So how can we make it happen? And that's again, thinking outside the box. We live outside the box on a daily basis.
He's never in the box.
Never in the box.
He doesn't even go near it. All right, any other questions, guys? All right, very good. Mike, you can talk to Scott, catch up. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.